Hey folks, I'm professional artist Jesse Britton, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you a great way to set up and draw a realistic skull with pencil. Firstly, you'll need some reference. If you don't have any skulls laying around, don't worry, you can go to Google, search skull photography, and draw directly from either a printed picture or any photos you save to your computer or phone. Or you can get your own skull, just like this one, which I highly recommend. Having your own skull can really help you experiment with different angles and lighting. I'll put a link to this guy in the description below. Also, you can screenshot the photo reference of the skull I'm using in this video, and that way you can use it for your own drawing. You can draw along at your own pace, pause when you like, and watch again. Boom, let's do it. I already traced the outline. To speed up the video, I'm going to be using Winsor & Newton Studio Collection graphite pencils, a 6-piece set. Each one is color-coded from darkest to lightest. I'm only going to be using 2 pencils for this skull. I'm using the lightest light, 2H, and the darkest dark, and HB. I'm also using Arches, watercolor, hot press, 16 by 20, 100% pure cotton paper. For reference, I set up 2 sheets, one on the table and one on the wall. Then I placed the skull in the center of that and put a spotlight on it. I took a picture with my phone and edited it by lowering the saturation in the editing app, which takes most of the color out of it. So I have a nice black and white photograph to work from. So what I'm doing now is using the 2H pencil, the lightest pencil, to map out a light field of shadows, looking up at my reference and back at the paper constantly. So I'm creating an area where the skull is mostly shadowed on my paper. So I'm mapping out the shadows. Still using the 2B pencil, I'm going to add a little bit of details as I go to create some contrast and depth of field. I also wanted to show you the setup that I'm drawing from. After I took the photograph on my iPhone, I airdropped it to my iPad. And so this is the setup that I'm using right here. You can also draw from that. Also keep in mind that these pencils are more for sketching. So I'll make another video on the best pencils to use for finished artwork that you can resell or frame or anything that you want to be a little bit more refined looking. For the sake of this tutorial, we're just going over the basics of shading, so we're not really worried about that right now. Hopefully, you're drawing this same skull along with me. That'd be a really good way to learn how to do this. It's mapped out. I'm starting to darken up things a little bit. Constantly looking back and forth from my reference to my drawing. Another thing I wanted to mention was squinting at the reference and then squinting at your drawing. So if you squeeze your eyes like you're looking at something very bright and look at the skull and then look back at your drawing, you can see what looks to be too light compared to the skull, the reference. So the drawing, when I squint at it, and the skull that I'm looking at to draw from don't quite at this time seem to match up. There's different ways to deal with that. One way is just to darken everything up right away. You can do it that way. I like to kind of work softer at first and then get darker at the end. So I'm still using the 2H pencil, the lightest pencil. And now I'm going to switch to the 8B and start darkening things up just a little bit. Squinting back at the skull, squinting back, looking up, looking down, looking at my reference, looking back at my drawing, doing more mid-tone shading, darkening things up a little bit. A great artist I once studied under for a very brief seminar said, what you're doing on your art, what you're doing on your drawing or painting is way more important than what's happening with your reference.
And I feel like that's true. But at the same time, if you want to do portraits or anything that you have to recreate an exact likeness of, it's really important to do your best to match everything up like you see it. So here I'm still trying to do that. This is the 8B pencil, the darkest pencil. So now we're really starting to darken things up a little bit. Got to work on the teeth. Teeth are tricky. Got to take your time, really squint at it. Remember that they're not always shaded solid. And then compare. So if you were to compare the center of the nose or the center of the eye to the teeth, how light would the teeth be? If you compare darkness and light like that, looking at the darkest spot, squinting your eyes and then looking down at, say, something like the teeth, you're going to do a lot better than if you only look at the teeth while you're drawing the teeth. You can see that it looks pretty dark until you compare it to the nose or the deepest, darkest part of the eye. It takes a lot of patience to get to this point where you're able to work through the teeth, but that's why we do what we do. It's a skill, you know. Art is a constantly evolving skill. If you're a beginner, don't get discouraged by this. There's a lot of other methods that you can use to create beautiful works of art. I generally recommend trying to copy what you see. Once you do that, you can start drawing more and more things. Here we are with the darkest pencil, the 8. Okay, I'm going to refine the darks. So that part of the jaw, I'm getting it a little bit darker than it was. Like I said, I didn't want to push too many darks right away because, you know, doing that you can lose some of the subtle like midtones, you know. All right, now we're really packing it in. Getting those darks in there. Hopefully I'm not getting too crazy. But I really want this puppy to pop. Hey, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.